Welcome to a place where the mysterious becomes the unforgettable. This metaphysical journey explores hauntings, UFOs, extraterrestrials, cryptozoology, and everything the paranormal world has to offer. Each week, guests from around the globe share their expertise, experiences, and mind-bending encounters. This is the Paranormal Voice.
Hello and welcome to another Sunday edition of the Paranormal Voice. Of course, I am your host, Dale, and I'm glad to see everybody here, and we are in for an exciting show here tonight, guys. I cannot wait. I've been trying to get this gentleman back on the show for such a long time. He is such a legend to me, and the work that he's done is so inspiring. I mean, I see him as one of the more front runners in the Bigfoot research community. Truly amazing guy, down to earth. But before I bring him out, I just want to say, guys, I appreciate you guys from day one to day now. This is our 5th year on the air, and I appreciate each and every one of you guys. And we are got some exciting things happening this year. Of course, I will be speaking at Ascension Con coming up August 15th, 2026, up at Hastings, Michigan. Guys, you can find all the details for that over on the Paranormal Voice Facebook page, or you go visit the Sacred Code Facebook page where you can get all your information, tickets, what's going on, all the speakers that's going to be there, and all that amazing stuff. But I'm not going to waste anybody more time because I got to get this guy out here. And he's got a special guest along with him too right now. Let's bring out my good buddy, Mr. Ronny LeBlanc, and his amazing wife, Amy, who is joining us. I appreciate this. This is truly awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the Paranormal Voice.
Great to see you.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
this is a first, by the way, Dale. This is a first.
Another TPV verse. I love it when things happen on this show, and I can sit back and watch and say, "Yes, it happened here first." So, all you other podcasts can be jealous because you know what?
Right.
It's a Canadian thing, right? You know, got to treat those Canadians a little bit special.
Heck yes. My dad's from New Brunswick, so you know. I hold the Canadian flag. Yeah.
We better start looking at the family tree. We might be family here because that's where all my family's from.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, Moncton and St. John's. So he came down here, I think, in 4th grade, immigrated to the U.S. And we have an area where I grew up in called French Hill. So a lot of French Canadians out here in Central Mass. Yeah.
Now, my family, my mom and dad were born in a little village called Minto, New Brunswick. I want to say it's about an hour away from Moncton, New Brunswick. But family out there is like all my relatives are basically there. I do have some cousins that are here, but most of my family are all back there. I grew up, most of my summers were all in New Brunswick because I would go spend time with my aunts and uncles and my grandparents, and then come back to Windsor, go back to school, and then go back up there every summer. That's where I spent my Grand Lake. I swam the most in.
Wow,
very
cool. Yeah, we want to try to do a trip at some point with our kids. We got 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. A little bit older now, but they haven't seen Canada. My parents are getting older. That's kind of one of those wish bucket list kind of trips.
Yeah,
we'd like to do.
Yeah, the East Coast of Canada, and I mean, I lived on the West Coast of Canada, and I visited a lot of the East Coast of Canada. But I'll tell you, truly amazing place to visit and see. There's so much to see and do. I mean, Halifax, New Brunswick, and you know, I do go up there, and now that I do what I do now, every time I go up to the East Coast, I always have to ask my cousins. So, you got any Bigfoot stories?
Yeah,
there's got to be a Bigfoot around here. I said, "Oh wait, sorry, I'm in Canada. Have we got some Sasquatch stories?"
That's right.
But nobody else in the family, unfortunately, does not believe like I do. So that makes me the weirdo of the family. But I'm okay with that.
You'll change, and you'll change that. You know, people now when they have friends that reach out to them and tell them a story, they go, "Oh, you're going to talk to Dale."
That's right. Go
You
talk
know,
to my cousin. Yeah, he'll
exactly.
know all about that stuff.
Mhm.
So Ronnie, I mean, you have not slowed down. Uh, I'll tell you,
To my
I
wife's chagrin.
every time I turn on my social media, there's Ronnie. He's doing this. Ronnie's going there. Ronnie's got this and I mean that's so amazing. And I'm so happy for you because, like I said
It's
at the beginning of the show, you are one of the most inspirational guys to me, and I think I've learned the most about Bigfoot. Of course, watching Expedition Bigfoot and then reading both your books, Monsterland, and we're going to talk about your new book in just a few minutes here because I'll tell you, the journey you've been on has been well over what you're going close to. I know you've been doing this for over a decade, but it's got to be closer
yeah.
to 15 years
About
plus.
yeah, but about 20 years, like in the sense of like really getting. And when we've been married for 22 years, and she wasn't aware of this side. So when things started happening, and she's like, "Wait, you're into this stuff?" And then so luckily I had somebody that supported me and had been an amazing partner in letting me do these things. So this is why we're talking is because of her.
So,
They
Amy,
called it right. Yeah.
I gotta ask you, what was the first thing that ran through your head when he came to you and says, "Oh, by the way, honey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk around the woods and look for a 12-foot hairy guy." What was your thought about this? It was like,
I mean,
did I
it
really
was a
want this?
yeah, I mean it was a process because how this kind of all came to be was through a mutual friend that I went to kindergarten with, and our children just happened to be in kindergarten at the same school, and we kind of reconnected. And Ronnie had been talking a little bit more about exploring Bigfoot and art and kind of getting back to his youth a little bit, like, oh, I used to love this and I used to love that. And ironically, this person's uh, brother happened to find a print in Leominster State Forest, and he said, we had been talking, and I was like, yeah, my gosh, Ronnie loves Bigfoot, and a few weeks later that happened, and he's like, I know who to call. I'm gonna call Ronnie. And from there it just ballooned into this whole thing. And he really just wanted to get his get the word out, that like it, we need to explore this more, and like we need to seriously explore this more, because it's always been like kind of a joke, or oh, Bigfoot's not real, that stigma. And so yeah, it's been really fun to watch and see it kind of just explode into what it is now.
Now, I mean, most of the universe got introduced to Ronnie in a big way by him joining Expedition Bigfoot.
Mm.
Um, Ronnie, could you? I mean, for people that don't know how you got got the opportunity to join that show, would you care to share that story? I love the story. I've heard it every time I see you, but I mean, it's truly interesting, and a lot of people want to know, like, how do people end up on these shows?
Yeah, I wrote the book Monsterland, and again from a friend of Amy's that she grew up with, and that synchronicity element where, because our conversation talking about California and Bigfoot, when his brother found these tracks, he was like, "Oh, you're gonna go," and so that kind of started the whole process of reconnecting with this idea of cryptozoology and hidden animals and Bigfoot UFOs. And I couldn't believe this was actually happening in my backyard, because what I had grown up reading about is that they're in the Pacific Northwest. There's nothing. So, I recalled an experience I had when I was younger. That's in the book in the beginning of the first chapter, that I didn't connect as a Bigfoot experience until much later, talking to other people and then talking to the Pennings that discovered these tracks and everything. And so that just set things going. And then because of the book, and it was interesting, I had we had done the WAF, Boston Rock radio station, when it got into the news about the cast of one of these prints, and suddenly people are talking, Bigfoot, and Finding Bigfoot came out and actually filmed in Leominster. And so when it was announced that there was going to be this episode about Leominster, that got picked up by WAF in Boston. And because of that, one of the DJs was like, hey, we should do a podcast together. So we started doing this Monsterland Monday thing, and they were blown away by how many people have had experiences in Central Mass and New Hampshire and Connecticut, that they started calling in, and the board would light up with the phone calls. They're like, what is going on? So I think that got some attention. And then when the show was, which I had no idea the Expedition Bigfoot was a thing, one of the members of the expedition team, RPG, Ryan Golombesky, within a couple of days of them filming production, went down and wasn't able to continue. It was not medically cleared to film because they're out in the woods for a month. And they were scrambling as production was stalled to find somebody to replace him. And they were calling a bunch of different people, and Maddie has been working with the History Channel, Maddie Blake from WAF. And so he got a call by one of the producers from the show, was like, hey, do you know anybody? He's, yeah, my podcast partner. So I get this random phone call, and I was like, what is this? And, hey, this is a real expedition, a TV show second. We're working with a real primatologist. We're looking for Bigfoot. We're in Oregon. We're in the midst of this location that we're going to be here for the next 3 weeks. We need somebody out here in the next 24 to 48 hours. Like, you have to make a decision. I was like, what the? So I tell Amy, and Maddie and I had pitched an idea for a show around Monsterland months before to History Channel, to Travel Channel. So I think I was a little bit of a blip on their radar. And when I got the call, hey, you have to make this decision, and I tell Amy, I think she was like, yeah, go for it. She didn't think I was going to get it. And then within 12 hours, I go, I got the show. She's like, what? And I had to fly out, and
yeah,
we're dealing, she's managing the kids and working and all the stuff. And then she's like, you have to do this. This is like, I remember her saying, this is the universe. Like, you're trying to, do something and push your experience forward with Monsterland and this location and all this stuff. And suddenly they're calling, and you have to go. And it was scary because I didn't know where I was going, who I was. I didn't know any of these people. I didn't know Maria or Ross. So it was a complete, it really like flipped our family upside down, because we've always been together.
Yeah.
We haven't really been apart like this. And so it was a big thing where you're like, I want to follow my passion, but my family's my biggest passion. And so I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So there was a tough thing. And if she said, you're not going, I wouldn't leave,
Right.
But the fact that she was like, you have to do this, like, this is the universe. And I'm like, okay, and with the hopes that this would help us out and help really kind of push that people are experiencing things that others are saying, you're crazy, can't be happening, this can't be real. But there are people within this area that have experienced this stuff. And even Amy herself, when I was gone throughout the process, a lot of weird shit has been going on around this area.
I mean, that's amazing, and that's you hear a lot about that, especially with people that we mutually know and family people. It's like, it is hard when you've got to be separated from your family, and I mean, especially for you. I mean, you're secluded in the middle of the woods. Probably cell service is not the best.
That was
So
the biggest,
it's got to be.
that was the biggest thing, right? Because where we were in Oregon for the first season in filming, it was a dead zone for cell phone.
Yeah.
So I couldn't check in, you know, like we would go to, like, we'd have some time every few days to go and try to connect with the families, you know.
Yeah.
Even production had to go off site to upload and do all these different things.
Yeah.
So that was the other piece. And maybe that helped with it. I don't know. But it was frustrating because you didn't have that communication where you could just check in. There would be days where she didn't know where I was, what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean that's got to be scary for you, Amy, knowing your husband's just out in the woods. He's plopped down by a production team, you know, searching for a cryptid creature that,
Right.
you know, we're trying to figure out if they exist or not. But you know, it's an understanding you're supportive, but at the same time, it's like that's got to be scary. And I mean, I know I've talked to a lot of the people from the show 28 Days Haunted, where they were locked away, no communication for people for 28 days, and just to see their mental capacity and what that really did to them, not being able to contact family for X amount of time. I mean, I'm glad that it worked out for you, Ronnie, because I mean, huge success. You were on Expedition Bigfoot for many seasons.
Yeah, 4 seasons. Red Alaska, I think, broke me. Alaska was tough. Like, it was like being on another planet, and I think that was just the realization. Like, I don't know how much longer I can do this, and that was after that experience. I think, mentally ready to take a break and just be done and pursue other things, and that opened up a lot of the doors. And we had weird stuff happen there. I think within the first 2 weeks is when my new book, Interdimensional, the cover is like a Bigfoot running, and it looks like it's electrically charged. And that's what Amy witnessed when I was in Alaska, I think within the first week and a half, 2 weeks. And you can tell the story, but just her driving down the road from where we are, she had an experience that, and I remember getting that message in the phone call and talking about it. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I mean,
So
there's really, yeah, there's not much to say. Just we were driving down the road, the kids weren't buckled in yet. Like, shame on me, but we were like literally just pulled out the driveway, went down the road, 30 seconds or so, and there was just a tall, thin. I want like I can only picture it like a static TV, but I could see through it, and I slammed on the brakes, and my son rolled over in the back seat, and he's like, "Mom," and I'm like, "Oh my God," because I thought I was gonna hit it, and then it just walked off into the it was off up the hill and was gone, and I was the only one that saw it, but it was definitely I was like, oh, okay, that's what that looks like. That's what they're talking about when they say, it's like
The cloaked,
you can see
yeah,
it, but you can't see it. So
yeah,
and what's wild is where it ran. It ran up this hill. When I remember coming back and, all right, where this happened, you know, and it came up this hillside, ran across the road, just down the street from us, the next street over or so, and it went up this hill. And I've always been wondering, like, where was it running? You know, is this just a game trail kind of path? Dale, just 2 weeks ago, I found out that there's a Native American burial ground across
nothing.
the street, right where that thing ran up into.
wow,
I just,
that is.
I just found that out from one of the people that work or lives up there, and a lot of the neighbors have said, "Hey, have you seen the Native American ghost yet?" He's like, "No." But it's
uh,
interesting that you have that action happening right here. Um, and then I also talk in the book too about, we had a rock thrown in the backyard, and Amy was on the phone with her sister when that happened. And so the what she saw run across and seeing almost like that cloaking, like be able to see through it, but could see this this figure running up the hill. There was thrashing in the backyard. So that was at nighttime. And then this was broad daylight where you were talking to your sister, and then suddenly a rock comes out of the backyard in the woods. We have a brook running in the back. And it hit the shed with such an impact that her sister could hear it on the other end of the phone.
Wow.
Made a hole in the shed. And I came out
shed.
yeah, I came out after that. And she was, you know, I could hear my kids yelling for me, like, Dad, Mom's calling, you know.
Yeah.
And you were like, there was something thrashing back there, like you thought it was like a bear or something big, that you're kind of freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the movement of like bushes and stuff like that, but I couldn't see anything. So yeah, it was another one of those things.
So when I came out and the rock was thrown, and I immediately, I'm kind of, you know, I go, rock, that, just knowing too where it was behind this area, it's pricker bushes, it's very tough. I couldn't imagine kids back there kind of messing around.
Right.
She would be able to see them, you know, she would be able to see them. And so when
Oh,
the
yeah,
rock was
'cause
thrown, yeah.
I was gonna
Go ahead.
say, yeah, because as soon as the rock would have hit the shed, it would have scared the kids because it made a bigger noise than they anticipated. They would have scattered. You guys would have seen.
Great point. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
it's so yeah. I mean, I mean, that's
So
it's truly amazing.
my mind instantly went to, okay, this is like Bigfoot behavior, and remembering what she had seen, you know, 3 weeks or so before. And I instantly got this impulse to text Chris Duncan, who we had on Expedition Bigfoot, who can remote view. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm going to ask him to do this right now. But I texted him. I said, hey, can you look into my backyard? I'll give you my address as a longitude, latitude type thing when you give remote viewers a target.
Right.
And I just explained, here's what's going on. This is going to sound wacky, but we just had a rock thrown, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I have this weird feeling it's Bigfoot activity. Can you tell me what you're seeing?
Right.
And I remember, you know, you see the dots of them typing after a little while, and the response came back like, you're on to something. And I was like freaking out. And he said, yeah, there's two of them back there. They're cloaking. One is a juvenile, one's a parent. The juvenile is the one that threw the rock. And I'm like, I just didn't believe it. Even though she saw that, I've seen the cloaking in Washington State while we were filming, experience as a kid. And I remember going to Michigan, Paracon, and RJ and Debbie, and Deb did like a shaman kind of clearing, because I had said when I got back from Alaska, I felt like I took something back home with me.
Yeah.
And all this weird activity. So when I was there, I kept on thinking about her experience and what happened and what Chris had told us. And it was like there was no activity since then. And I remember coming back home, got in like late, 12, 1 in the morning or so, and everyone was asleep. I couldn't sleep. I was in bed, tossing and turning, and I kept on thinking about it. And I remember going outside in the backyard, standing at the edge of the deck and just looking in the backyard. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get this thing to throw a rock, you know? So I tried to do this little experiment, and I've told people, hey, try to do a thought experiment and have, you know, don't vocalize it, but ask it to do something with your mind and see what happens.
Right.
So I'm like, I might as well take a little bit of my own medicine and see if I can get something to happen. And we tell our kids what's going on when weird things happen around here, and they have similar things that they'll share with us. They're like, we just saw this and blah blah blah. And I just remember going out to the edge of the deck, looking in the backyard, and I said, okay, I'm just going to project with my thoughts. I'm not going to say a word, but I said, I want you to throw, if this is real, I want you to throw a rock right now at the shed. And I mean right effing now. And before I could say now, rock hits the shed. I felt like this cold water being rushed down on the top of my head all the way down. Like, and one of my daughters, our daughter Lena opened the window and was like, I heard that rock, you know? So it wasn't like in my head, but I was like, how the hell did my, you know, how did I get a response just with I didn't even say anything. So that was just another like check mark that Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever, they're more than just an animal. There's some kind of consciousness thing going on. Maybe they're even more ahead of us or above us than we are. That was just another moment that I was like, going to bed, went upstairs, and it still just blows my mind that happened.
Now, I mean, I've heard you talk about this many times, and I read it, and it's been talked about on several different shows on just how Bigfoot more communicates telepathically than they do verbally. I think, like, hearing them verbally, it's more or less for I. This is just my take on it. Is that this is their way of communicating with others who are around them, but telepathically, that's how they're communicating with us as humans when, like you said, you just put the thought out there. It's like telepathically you were talking to them and they answered you. So that's the amazing response and so on cue. And it's like, how is that? That's hard to deny. You ask something, it happened. And it's like, how do you dispute that? Because what are the chances a rock went rolling down the hill and just accidentally hit your shed at that very moment?
Right.
I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people would dispute it that way, but so I want to talk more about the telepathic thing. And maybe, Amy, you could answer this. Have you felt anything like out in your backyard or when you're out and about and you've had an experience like, did you get like a telepathic message or something?
No, I definitely I've I've had many experiences with both, strange lights and strange flying things and aliens peeking from behind trees and stuff, but never any real communication. I'd be open to it because it makes me feel a little bit safer, honestly. Like like tell me to go away if that's what you want me to do. Um but yeah, no, nothing like that for me. But lots of experiences that I'm like, oh wow, like I've been blessed to really have um just an open mind to these things because I've seen things I can't explain. So
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think like even for me, like only one time, and this is when I was younger, when I was reading a book about UFOs and abductions, and I was getting a little freaked out. I was in my room and it was like maybe 11:30 midnight or something. I was 15, 16 reading about this stuff and getting scared about the idea of aliens. And I heard my name. Like somebody then went, Ronnie. And it wasn't like in the room, I heard it in my head. And it freaked me so much that I just threw the book across the room. And I was like, I'm done with this. Because I was brought up in the church and going Catholic church and then Pentecostal. So anything scary or fear but had to be demonic or something evil. And
right,
so instantly I felt like, oh, I'm crossing the line.
right,
But that was the only time I had something like that. I've received almost like feelings or premonitions, but I haven't had like this communication that a lot of people have said, yeah, I'm communicating with them back and forth. Aside from me, projecting with like that
right.
experience in the backyard, I haven't had that. And I think that would be really, unless you're mentally ready to deal with that, I think that's a kind of a scary concept that something could be inside your head and communicate with you
Right.
and maybe even read your mind what you're thinking. But that's what people have claimed, that where you go into spots where there's Bigfoot reports or Bigfoot sightings, and if you have ill intent, that you're not going to have an experience because they can read your thoughts before you even get in there. But if you approach it with like love and want to
Right.
have an experience and a sighting and you're ready, then they may show themselves. So that's the interesting piece that reappears and continues to appear, that tells me that this isn't just an animal. there's something
Right.
else going on. And I always bring up the Native American tribes and the stories too, and that this is the forest people. There's something else to these beings. So
Now that leads me to an interesting point because I mean I'll tell you I love this book. I
oh, thank you, man.
about 3 or 4 stories into it, but I love the way you opened up this book because you talk about an experience that both you and Amy had while you guys were in your old place. You guys were just getting ready to move and everything. And the book
Yeah.
starts out with this story. I would love for you both to talk about the story and get both your perspectives on the whole thought process because I have heard before about people seeing thunderbirds or phoenixes flying through the sky as light anomalies. But
Yeah.
I love that this is a story you included in your book. So please, if you can, talk about the story, and I would love to hear both your sides about it, especially Amy because she's really not in the field, but she's getting to experience. You're rubbing off on her, Ronnie, and that could be a good thing or a scary thing on her part.
Well, I'll let her. I'll just say this really quick that when she worked at what she said country club and had seen some weird stuff, and she mentioned about seeing aliens peeking behind the trees, and this was a location that had a history of green balls of light coming out of the sky, and people had talked about them going into the reservoir, and she witnessed this twice
Yep.
within I think 2 or 3 weeks with other people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to tell it, but like you saw it the first time, what that was like, and then the second time, you were actually talking about it with all these people about what you saw, and it was like
True story. True story. Yeah. Well, the first time I was alone, I was closing up shop. And the second time, a friend of ours was getting married. So we were all at the country club. We were out on the deck and just witnessed this just kind of green lava like ball of light. And it just went just right into the reservoir, but completely silent. No splash, no nothing. Like it was crazy. And that was the second time I had seen it. So I was like, did you guys see that? And they were like, yeah, we saw it. Like, and I had just been talking about it because I was like, you guys, a couple weeks ago, I saw this. But anyway, that particular night when we saw the Thunderbirds, we had been talking in the garage because we had packed everything up. So there's tons of boxes, and we're getting ready for the move, and we're kind of figuring out how we're going to do it. And I just was sitting on a stool, and I felt something brush past my leg, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I felt something brush past my leg. I was like, maybe a fly. I didn't know what it was. Then we're a little further on, felt it again, and I'm like, wow, that's very weird. And it was the same leg in the same spot, and it honestly felt like my cat maybe brushed her tail. But so I looked down again. So by the third time, I was like, I'm definitely getting like a fairy, like a calling vibe. I didn't know how to really explain it, but it was just like, I don't know. I got a little creeped out, honestly. I was like, all right, let's go back in the house. And yeah, we walked out of the garage, maybe, I don't know, 5 feet, and you're like, what's that? And then, I mean, from there, it was just like, what are we seeing?
I mean,
Yeah.
Dale, they were
Crazy.
it was all right. So my whole thing with like synchronicity and all this, right? And I was basically saying I can't wait to move here to our new house because we're going to see weird shit.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. And then she gets touched like 3 times, and then I just remember like someone's trying to get our attention. Like we walked out, and it was like the timing of us seeing it, and then we just saw. I remember seeing the orange reddish one was like the size of a school bus. It just caught my eye. It looked like a dragon or a dolphin, like so, and it was chasing after a green one, and they were enormous. And we just were like, "What the? I've never seen anything like this before. I haven't seen anything since."
Mm.
And it was completely silent, but it was like other people have to have seen this,
Right.
but we were in such shock as we're watching this happen. And why I brought up the green UFO or ball is because immediately after these two that were, and I would say they were playfully chasing after each other.
Mm.
It wasn't like this one was attacking. It was like they were just doing their thing, putting on a show, and then once they went out of view, we just started scanning the sky because I had this feeling there's more coming, you know. And then here comes this green ball, like the size of a beach ball, similar to what she has seen at Wachusett. And then even she remembered, oh my God, when I was a kid, I used to see these coming out of the sky and going into this place known as Crystal Lake and where they would go camping. So she's had a long experience with this stuff. And it was weird how that was following those two Thunderbirds. And then we see the smaller, what she got a video of the smaller whitish bluish one moving like a bird, like a baby trying to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I was just like, you know, did a portal just open up? Like, what is happening? And the timing of us seeing this, and I was so glad that we were seeing it together, because I would have questioned my sanity.
Yeah, it was
if I saw it by myself.
And also, like, we were we were so caught up in the moment, like I didn't want to take my eyes off it. So like I was like, oh my God, do you have your camera? And he's like, no. Because like we both wanted to capture it, but it was almost like you just were like so shocked that it was even there.
Yeah.
That like it didn't even come to mind until, you know, once they had gone out of sight, and then we saw the green orb and then the smaller white one. You know, it was almost at that point I was like, ah, and I just tried to capture what I could, you know, and tried to focus up on it. And I caught it just as it was going behind the tree, but
yeah,
it's pretty cool. Yeah, that was awesome.
And I just wondered, like, did anybody else see this? Like, was it just her and I, and kind of tuned in to that and were able to see it where other people wouldn't be able to see it? Or if anyone had looked up, they would have seen it too, because we had another weird experience we have a Suburban, her truck that she drives all the time, and you're high up. And we had to go into Worcester, which is another weird place. We live in Worcester County. And Worcester was the epicenter of the airship sightings in 1909, and a lot of weird stuff around here since. And we're driving by, I forget the name of the lake, but if you just seen like a toilet flushing, right, and you're seeing a bunch of water cycling down, we're driving, we look over the lake, and we see this enormous like circumference of water, like somebody had just unplugged a drain and we looked over and go, what the? It was the size of what would be maybe a flying saucer, or a UFO was like waiting to come out of the water, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, like, did anybody else even see that? It was scary because if you're in a little boat, and you would go down the drain, you would just
yeah, it'd be like you get sucked down that you know, yeah, when you see, what was that thing where you put the marble down and it keeps going around and around, and it goes faster and faster until it finally goes through the black hole or the abyss hole, or but yeah, no, it's
that was a moment too where I was like, did anybody else see this but just us? You know? So it's weird.
And just, I mean, this is where I've been leaning a lot since last year, like rethinking the whole paranormal thing, being involved in the paranormal and the experiences that people have. And I talk about this a lot when I'm doing talks, is that people have experiences, but I find the experiences are unique to them. Did other people see what you guys witnessed that night, or was this truly meant for just you guys to experience, because it knows that you guys are believers, you guys kind of follow up with the stuff, like Ronnie, with you being a researcher and stuff, and it kind of tends like, does it happen to people that they know, like, okay, if I show myself, these people will believe in it, where maybe 500 other people could see it, but they'll dismiss it as, oh, maybe it was heat lightning in the sky, or maybe it was a
Right.
flare from a going by jet or something. But it's all about the experience, and this is why I enjoy talking, and this is why the paranormal voice means so much to me, is that I get to see how people experience things that maybe somebody else did, but maybe somebody else experienced differently than what you guys witnessed that night.
Yeah. There was someone that had read the book recently that said she was on History Channel and had witnessed a Thunderbird and explained her sighting, and was hoping to meet someone else that have had the experience. And we actually had met. I gave her like an autograph for her dad's friend or something like that in Houghton a couple
Okay.
years ago. And so she read it, was like, oh my God, you and Amy, I have to talk. Like, you guys saw it too. And then I had another friend, a Bigfoot researcher from Central Mass that was up in New Hampshire, Nashua, at a paranormal event, and had talked to somebody that had a booth. And as they got talking, oh, my boyfriend is a police officer in somewhere in New Hampshire. And oh, have they seen any Bigfoot, sightings, or got any reports? She's like, no, but he did come home one day, was all disheveled, said he saw dragons flying in the sky. And she was like, what? And she explained and told this lady, Amy and I's experience. And she said, that's exactly what he saw too.
Right.
So I'm trying to track this guy down. So, and now, like Nashua, like southern New Hampshire, we're pretty close, half an hour, 40-minute drive. So it makes sense that maybe in that time frame, I've always wondered, did anybody else see this while we're watching it? There had to be somebody else kind of going, what
Right.
is, or maybe not. Everyone's on their phone or just driving. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing too. How distracted are we, or how attached to our phones, and we're not really looking up anymore.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. So anybody who's watching the show, if you did experience Thunderbirds or anything like this, please reach out to Ronnie. Tell him your story.
Please,
Maybe
yeah.
it could. I mean, it could not. It might have been seen worldwide and not just in your
Right.
area, right?
Right.
So, pretty amazing thing, and I love the story. I love that's how it kicked off the book, because you're thinking this story is this great. I can't wait to get into the rest of the book, because it only gets more interesting as you get deeper
Yeah.
into it. But I just want to change subjects real quick here, because I know, Ronnie, you were a big part of another project of an amazing young man who I had the pleasure of being on the show, Daniel Lee Barnett.
Yeah.
You were a part of his documentary that came out last year, I believe it was, or
Yeah. Yeah. So it just came out a few months ago. Strangely enough, RPG and I were both executive producers on the project, and went out and filmed there. And in a few days, Amy's coming out with me to London for the red carpet premiere. So another thing she let me go do and film in England last year, and now she's going to be joining me. So we're going to have a couple days off, which is going to be great to go and promote it and be a part of that. But his story was compelling to me to participate in doing something like this. So
yeah, no, I mean, absolutely amazing young man. I mean, just for the hour that I had the opportunity to talk to him about, I mean, for somebody that young to be that knowledgeable about cryptids and as passion, I mean, you could just, he's just all about the passion.
yeah,
So that's truly amazing. And I mean, when I heard about it and saw that you two were together, I was like, wow, that is truly amazing. So I got to credit you for helping me get that interview with him, because I had to throw your name out there and say, oh, yeah, I know Ronnie LeBlanc. So,
yeah,
but
he is something else. He's like, if he's doing this at 14 and 15, what is he going to do when he's 20, 25, 30, and his family's amazing. The evidence he found by casting an 18-inch print and getting DNA evidence of old world monkey, great ape, and we have like the BBC coming. We have he's like, we've gotten almost 80 requests for interviews on Friday night for the premiere from all these different countries, and so I'm like, what is, like, you created this amazing, his story, his journey, and what's wild too is, like, if I didn't leave Expedition Bigfoot when I did, I wouldn't have been able to been a part
Right.
of the documentary. So that was another. I started doubting my decision. I made it, family first, but then you start to kind of go, oh, did I?
Right.
And it turned out to be a great decision. Not only be home with my family, but then to also help with his journey. I think that's the big thing, is inspiring the younger generation to look into this stuff, because it's been going on for centuries and we still don't have the answers.
And the great thing about that is now it's an international thing. You get to explore internationally. Like, we know Bigfoot North American wise,
Yeah,
but to talk about to other people that live in different countries and different parts of the world about what cryptids mean to them, and how, just the experiences and stuff like that is just truly remarkable. And once again, good timing on your part that you leave one thing, and like you said, if you were still part of that, would this have happened? Who knows? But we're glad it did happen, because it's truly a miracle that how his story now gets told. And like you said, see what he's doing now. What's he going to be like when he's even older and really defines more of his skills and research abilities?
yeah. And just to say something really quick too, when before I got the call for Expedition Bigfoot, I did tell Amy I was done with all this. Like, put too much time into it, become an obsession. I'm going to focus on the family, and it was like a few weeks later, I get the phone call, and she's like, "You're going to do this." And then I leave Expedition Bigfoot. I'm like, okay, take a break. Want to be home with family, and then I get, Daniel starts reaching out to me, and at first I'm like, who is this guy, and then I find out it's this young kid that found this evidence, and she's like, go to England. So I've been trying to get away from it, but it keeps on pulling me back.
But it's the passion, right? It's something that drives us all. And as much as we would love to turn that passion off, unfortunately, it's also the same thing that drives us and keeps us going to wanting more. And I mean, I think we're closer than ever to really getting better evidence that Bigfoot exists, besides uh, actually having an interview or a face to face with an actual Bigfoot at some point. And I believe it will happen one day. I believe it will happen, but it's but without people like you out there who are on the boots on the ground doing all this research, taking time away from your family, it's it's what drives us to that end goal. Like, we have to know the answers as humans. Will we all know the full story? Probably not.
Right. Yeah, and I do believe we're getting closer to it. And if I wouldn't be so, I think, if I didn't have personal experience like I've had and what she's had as well, like, I don't think I would be so. I wouldn't pursue it as much, right? It's almost like this weird hook where it's like, don't you want to know more? Like, want to understand this? And I think it's neat to see more and more people focusing not only on Bigfoot stuff, but UFO stuff, paranormal,
Right.
anything unexplained, because we're still trying to figure out why the hell we're here. Like, and where do we go after this? So
Uh,
that's the other piece.
I know you're a very busy guy. You do a lot of events, but I'm really excited that if anybody in the Michigan area who is a Bigfoot enthusiast, lover, that you are going to be up at the Ascension Con this August 15th, and you are, along with RJ DeRoos, Jason McKenzie, and the She Squatchers, are actually going to be taking people out to the local area and actually do a Bigfoot hunt with them. This is truly exciting, and I hope I can join along with you guys.
Heck yeah, for sure. Like it, Michigan, a long history, a lot of activity, a lot of stuff that's coming out. So I'm excited to do that, and you definitely learn from the people that are local there of where to go, different spots, and so I'm excited for that. So hopefully you're definitely going to be coming. I'll drag you out there if I have to.
uh, no, like I said, I'm excited. I just had the opportunity to be on Mary's show talking about it, and I said when I first reached out to be a part of this, and she said, "Yeah, I was so excited," but then at the same time, I started seeing the lineup come out, and I'm like, I had that imposter syndrome kick in. I'm like, do I really deserve to be on the same stage as like Ronny LeBlanc and
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Jason Kenzie and Artie? Because I mean, to you guys, I'm still the student in all of this, and like I said, I watched you many times up in Michigan. Where I mean, I met you initially in Holt Lake at the
Right.
UFO Contact Convention first time because I was excited because it was the first time I just finished watching my first time watching Expedition Bigfoot, and I'm here. Oh, Ronnie's going to be the school. I finally get to read a real life Bigfoot researcher, and I think we just clicked right off the bat because it was just one of those things, and it's just pretty cool to see everything that you're doing, and so I'm glad that I get to share a stage with you and talk about my experiences in the paranormal world and how I perceive the paranormal and how everything has happened to me. But yeah, it was for a brief moment there. I was like, imposter syndrome coming in because I don't think I really deserve to be up on a stage like that with such amazing speakers as yourself. So
I still don't think I should be on those stages. Like I'm still learning. I still don't know diddly. You know what I mean? So it's a constant process of, and yeah, you kind of doubt what you're doing and why am I here. But I know my experiences and other people's that they've had are real. They're not, manifestations. And even with AIM, like to have those together has been, I think, just kind of solidifies that okay, you're not going crazy. We're seeing this stuff together. It's real, and I think that's the biggest. We're heading to a point that yeah, we're going to find out we're definitely not alone. There's more going on around us than we even realize.
and I love that you are one of the few people that I know that are actually talking about the whole Bigfoot and UFO connection and how these can be relatable to each other. And I mean, I see a lot more theory in that as time goes by because the more stories come out and two people are telling the same stories, but one's seeing a Bigfoot, the other one's seeing aliens, but they're all in the same location around the same amount of time. So I love that you are out there talking about this because I think once again the paranormal umbrella is a big umbrella. It's somewhere in this paranormal universe. It's all interacted somewhere.
Yeah,
like it all links together.
Yeah, and that's what the new book is basically. Interdimensional talks about that. For each person, that interface might be something alien or UFO to make that connection, or it might be something you're in the woods and it's a cryptid or whatever, or it might be something that's spiritual or ghost-like within a house because you're not, So I think they're all connections to the same source or the same thing, and it's just when you're ready, if you believe that it unlocks, and it does start to feel like this is a video game, like we are supposed to go through this journey and we have to face our fears, whatever that's a monster, strange lights, or whatever it is. And sometimes you realize you start to see all of those things as well, not just one, but you have people that have Bigfoot experiences start to have UFO experiences or the hitchhiker effect at home with the paranormal stuff. So over and over again, there just seems to be a connection to all of it.
So real quick, I want you to plug your books because they're all amazing books. I've read the first two cover to cover.
thanks,
I've
man.
actually read the first one twice. I'm looking forward to finishing up this book before I see you in August. So this way here, I can have a lot of questions for you. Please
Awesome.
tell us, where can we get your books, and also at the same time, tell us about some other upcoming events that we can find you at if other people are interested in catching up with you.
Yeah. So the first book, Monsterland: Encounters with UFOs, Bigfoot and Orange Orbs, that was the first look at the connection between Bigfoot, UFOs, UAPs, and then the second book gets into the idea that there's a spiritual component that intertwines with all this stuff. So shaman, synchronicity, and high strangeness. And the newest book, Interdimensional, is about consciousness, cryptids, and the hidden architecture of reality. And it's essentially an evolution of the first two books. And realized, I'm like, man, it's been a while since I put out the last book. It's been like 7 years since the second Monsterland book. And I really try to incorporate all the latest developments when it comes to crash retrieval programs and all these different things, and looking at the connection, all that stuff. But if you go to my website, RonnyLeBlanc.com, or you can get all the books on Amazon. I pretty much do everything through Amazon, printing them and writing and producing them through there. But you can get them at Barnes & Noble, Target, all the other locations as well.
That's amazing. Any upcoming events that you have happening between now and say August 15th?
Yeah, so the big one that we have in a few days is the red carpet premiere in London for my Bigfoot Life. So we're excited for that and getting some more awareness around that. I have another project coming up, and that I'll be announcing in the next few weeks. But I have a few events, New Jersey, still doing a bunch of library talks. But I'm trying to fill up the calendar, but also trying to stay as local as possible. The great thing about doing library talks and different things around New England is I get to come back home at night. So
Okay.
trying to stay more local as much as possible.
And that's exciting because I tell you to capture in on local activity and putting that up there, it seems like that part of Massachusetts is really active. So why not explore the hell out of it? And like I said, it's a pleasure to talk to you and Amy today. I thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule, Ronnie, to come and talk to the TPV Nation. I can't wait to see you up in August. It's going to be an amazing weekend. So, guys, once again, August 15th, if you're in the Michigan area and you want to hang out with Ronnie or hear what Ronnie has to say, or even go on a Bigfoot hunt with Ronnie, that'll be August 15th. Check that out. I believe the speaker portion is free. If you want to go to the Bigfoot hunt, there's a little bit of a cost to it.
Right.
But it's always amazing. So, Ronnie, Amy, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure
Thanks, Dale.
talking to you guys. Amy,
Thank you, Dale.
it's a pleasure to
Amy.
actually being able to pick your brain to see what it's like to be married to a guy that wants to go
We need
chase
a whole
big.
other show.
Yeah.
No.
We need several other podcasts that dive deep into this.
But that's amazing. So, guys,
Thanks,
that's
Dale.
doing it for me and the Paranormal Voice. Guys, catch Ronnie. Follow him on all social media. Find out what he's up to, what he's doing, where he's going to be appearing. And in the meantime, guys, appreciate you guys. Next week episode, I've got Kelly Hopla coming back on. She's going to talk about her new project, Paranormal Archetypes, and it's all a talk about how we perceive the paranormal and how the paranormal perceives us. So join me next Sunday. That's going to be an interesting topic. Talk about a whole new dimension on how people take the paranormal. But in the meantime and in between time, I like to say is happy hauntings.